It was a quiet day on Earth, the kind of day where nothing unusual seemed to happen. People went about their lives, going to work, attending school, and taking care of everyday things. But everything changed when the message came. It started as a strange signal, faint but clear enough to catch the attention of Earth's top scientists. The message was not from a human source, and it was unlike anything they had ever seen. It wasn't a typical radio broadcast or a communication from a nearby satellite. This was something new, something alien. At first, people thought it might be a mistake. Maybe it was just a glitch, or perhaps some kind of strange natural phenomenon. But as scientists decoded the message, they realized the truth. It was from an alien race, and it was a warning. The aliens, who called themselves the Krelians, had observed Earth from afar. They had watched humanity grow, develop, and expand. But from their perspective, humans were nothing more than an insignificant species on an insignificant planet. Earth, they said, was a primitive world. The people of Earth, they believed, were weak and unable to understand the larger complexities of the galaxy. The Krelians warned Earth to stay out of their way. You are nothing more than a stepping stone. The message said, the galaxy is vast, and you are nothing but an insect crawling in the dirt. You will never be a part of it. This message, this insult, spread across Earth like wildfire. Governments, military leaders, and scientists were shocked. How could anyone, especially an alien race, speak to them this way? It was as if the Krelians thought they could ignore Earth completely, without understanding what humans were truly capable of. News outlets buzzed with reports. Some people were scared, others angry. We can't just let them speak to us like that, one news anchor said angrily, and his words were echoed around the world. In the days that followed, a global debate began. Some suggested that humanity should ignore the message. Perhaps it was just a test, a way to see how Earth would react. Others, however, argued that humans should not back down. We cannot show weakness, said one military officer. If we do, we risk more than just this insult. We risk our place in the galaxy. The message had shaken the world. The question on everyone's mind was the same. How should Earth respond? Behind the scenes, world leaders and top scientists worked quickly. A special meeting was called, bringing together the best minds in science and defense. They needed to figure out what this alien race was capable of and whether Earth could defend itself if things turned hostile. Meanwhile, strange things began to happen. In the skies above Earth, strange ships appeared. At first, they were small, just dots in the distance, but soon they grew larger. These ships were not like anything humanity had ever seen before. Their designs were sleek, almost organic, with glowing lights and strange symbols. The ships hovered just outside Earth's atmosphere, watching, observing. The Krelians weren't attacking, but they weren't leaving either. It was as if they were waiting for something, for a response, a sign. The world's governments scrambled to prepare. Earth had never faced an alien threat before, and there was no telling what the Krelians might do next. But there was one thing the Earth's leaders knew for sure. This was not the time to show fear. In secret, military leaders began to make plans. Earth's most advanced weapons were mobilized, and defense systems were activated. The military wasn't sure if they would even be enough to defend against such a powerful alien race, but they were ready to try. Meanwhile, scientists worked feverishly, analyzing the Krelian message, searching for any clue that might help them understand what the aliens were really after. Was this just a warning, or was it something more? What did the Krelians really want from Earth? As the days passed, the tension grew. On one side, people felt fear, unsure of what the future would bring. On the other side, there was growing anger. How dare these aliens call them weak? How dare they think they could push humanity around? The situation was becoming critical. The Krelians had made their move, and now humanity had to decide how to respond. But as the world waited for the next step, no one could predict just how far this confrontation would go. And then, just as the world braced itself for the worst, something unexpected happened. A new message came. It was not from the Krelians. This message was different. It came from a smaller ship, one that had broken away from the Krelian fleet. The message was brief, but its meaning was clear. Earth is not what you think. The world was stunned. Who was this message from? Could it be another alien race? Or was it a rebellion within the Krelian ranks? The possibilities seemed endless, and with every new twist, the stakes grew higher. The first encounter had only just begun. The days after the strange message sent shockwaves across Earth. The world waited, holding its breath, unsure of what would happen next. The Krelians had shown their power by sending their ships to hover over Earth. The message had been clear. Earth was insignificant in their eyes. But humans weren't going to back down so easily. For the first time in history, Earth united. The anger that had begun to rise after the Krelians' insult turned into a powerful force. People from all over the world gathered, not just to protect their homes, but to show the galaxy that humans were not weak. The Krelians would soon learn that Earth was not a planet to be underestimated. The Krelians, too, prepared for the next move. They saw Earth's defiance as a challenge. After all, they were a race of powerful beings who had conquered many worlds. They thought the humans were no different. They believed Earth's technology was primitive, its people weak. They were wrong. The first real attack came without warning. A massive Krelian ship broke through Earth's atmosphere and headed straight for the United States. It was a dark, enormous vessel, much larger than any ship humans had ever built. The entire world watched as it slowly descended toward the planet. It was clear this wasn't a peaceful visit. The alien ship came to conquer, not to negotiate. In an instant, Earth's defense systems were activated. Cities had been fortified, and military forces were ready. But the Krelian ship was powerful beyond measure. Its weapons were unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Laser beams that burned through steel, energy blasts that could level entire buildings in seconds. The first attack was devastating, hitting the heart of a major city, turning it into rubble. Humanity's worst fears were coming true. The Krelians attacked again, sending waves of smaller ships to take control of key locations. They moved with precision, their ships soaring across the skies with deadly speed. Human forces tried to fight back, but the aliens' technology was too advanced. For every shot fired, the Krelians countered with 5 of their own. Cities fell one after another, and the world seemed to be on the edge of collapse. But even in the face of this overwhelming power, something unexpected happened. The humans didn't panic. They didn't flee. They fought back. A group of resistance fighters, led by military commanders and scientists, quickly gathered in secret locations. They had been preparing for this day, not knowing when it would come, but always ready. They had kept their most advanced technologies hidden from the rest of the world, and now it was time to reveal them. At first, the Krelians didn't notice. Their focus was on conquering Earth, and they underestimated the humans' ability to adapt. The resistance fighters used guerrilla tactics, striking from the shadows, using the alien technology they had reverse-engineered in secret. They attacked the Krelian supply lines and destroyed their communication towers. Slowly, the Krelians began to realize that Earth was not as helpless as they thought. The battle raged on for days. The Krelians were relentless, but so were the humans. Resistance fighters used Earth's environment to their advantage. They sabotaged the Krelian ships, using their knowledge of the planet's terrain to outmaneuver the invaders. One by one, the alien ships began to fall, and the Krelians started to panic. In one of the most intense battles, a small group of humans, using newly developed electromagnetic pulse weapons, managed to disable one of the Krelian ships. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their advanced technology, which had once seemed unstoppable, was now vulnerable to human ingenuity. The humans celebrated their small victory, but the Krelians were not ready to give up. But the message had been sent. The humans were no longer just sitting ducks. They had begun to fight back, and it was becoming clear that the Krelians had made a serious mistake by underestimating Earth. The Krelians' arrogance was starting to cost them. With every passing hour, their ships were being taken down, and their soldiers were retreating. Earth's military forces, once struggling against the alien onslaught, were now organized and efficient. The Krelians, who had come expecting an easy victory, were faced with an unexpected resistance. As the days went by, the tide began to turn. Humans learned from every mistake, adjusting their tactics and strategies. Each battle they won gave them more hope. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their planet, their families, and their future in the galaxy. But the Krelians, though surprised, were not ready to accept defeat. They had made mistakes, yes, but they still believed they were the superior race. They called for reinforcements, expecting to crush the humans once and for all. What the Krelians didn't realize was that Earth's resolve had only grown stronger. With each attack, the humans were learning, adapting, and becoming more united. The Krelians had underestimated Earth, and now they would regret it. The battle for Earth had only just begun. The Krelians had no idea what they were about to face. The tide of the war had started to shift, but the Krelians were far from finished. They had underestimated Earth before, and now they were growing desperate. Their massive fleet hovered above the planet, sending waves of attack after attack. Every time they thought they had the upper hand, the humans fought back with a strength they had never imagined. The Krelians were powerful, this was certain. Their ships were advanced, their weapons deadly. Yet, as the days passed, they couldn't ignore the fact that Earth's people were not backing down. The small victories the humans had claimed seemed to be stacking up, and the Krelians began to doubt their initial assessment of Earth. The leaders of the Krelians gathered in a secret meeting aboard their flagship. How could this be happening? One of them demanded. They're only humans. Their technology isn't nearly as advanced as ours. Perhaps we were too hasty. Another said, we didn't consider the human spirit. Their ability to adapt, to learn, is unlike anything we've seen. But even in their frustration, the Krelians were determined. They decided to increase their efforts, calling in their reinforcements from across the galaxy. They sent more ships, more soldiers, and more weapons. This time, they would show Earth just how powerless it truly was. Back on Earth, however, something was happening that the Krelians couldn't have anticipated. While the alien invaders focused on their massive fleet, humans were working in the shadows. Earth's most brilliant scientists, engineers, and military leaders had been preparing for a moment like this. They had been developing new technologies, hidden deep beneath the surface of the planet. Now, those secrets were ready to be revealed. One of the most brilliant minds behind these advancements was Dr. Aisha Malik, a leading scientist who had worked for years on top-secret projects. For years, she had been developing a weapon that could counteract the Krelians' advanced technology, a device designed to disrupt their energy systems and neutralize their powerful weapons. Dr. Malik stood in a hidden underground lab, surrounded by rows of machines humming with energy. With a quiet breath, she activated the device. It glowed with a brilliant light, and for the first time, humans had a weapon that could stand up to the Krelians' overwhelming power. The new weapon wasn't a massive bomb or an oversized laser. It was a small, portable device that could emit a wave of electromagnetic energy. This energy disrupted the Krelians' technology, rendering their ships and weapons useless. It was a game changer, but it had one major flaw. It needed to be deployed up close. A team of brave soldiers would have to get close to the enemy's fleet to use it. And so, a small group of elite soldiers, led by Commander Ravi Singh, prepared for a daring mission. They were going to infiltrate one of the Krelians' heavily guarded ships, get close enough to deploy the device, and disable the alien fleet's weapons. Commander Singh's team was ready, though the odds were stacked against them. They knew the risks, but they also knew that this was their best chance to turn the tide. They suited up in their advanced armor, which had been modified with Earth's new technology, and prepared to board the Krelian mothership. As they traveled toward the mothership, hidden inside a small stealth ship, the tension in the air was thick. The team was silent, knowing the dangers that lay ahead. They were about to do something that no one had ever dared to do: sneak inside the heart of the Krelian fleet and strike at its core. Meanwhile, the Krelians, confident in their superior technology, had no idea that their fleet was about to be attacked from within. Their ships moved in formation, launching smaller fighters to search for human resistance. But the humans had been planning for this moment for months, and every step of their mission was carefully calculated. The stealth ship carrying Commander Singh and his team slipped through the Krelian defenses unnoticed. They docked on the underside of the mothership, avoiding the heavily guarded upper sections. The team moved swiftly, using advanced technology to disable security systems and avoid detection. As they reached the main control room, the team encountered their first obstacle: a group of Krelian soldiers patrolling the corridors. They weren't expecting human intruders, and so Commander Singh's team took them by surprise. With quick, silent moves, they incapacitated the aliens without making a sound. It was a victory, but they knew it was only the beginning. Finally, they reached the core of the mothership. The electromagnetic device was ready, and the team knew that this was their only chance. With no time to spare, they placed the device next to the Krelian's power core and activated it. The effect was immediate. A pulse of energy surged through the ship, and the Krelian mothership's weapon systems powered down. The ship's once impenetrable defenses crumbled. The Krelians didn't know what had hit them. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. The Krelians' fleet was disabled, and for the first time in the war, it was the humans who had the upper hand. But the Krelians were not defeated yet. They still had their numbers, their strength, and their pride. But Earth had learned something that would change the course of the war forever. Humans had more than just strength. They had a hidden power, a will to fight that could not be broken. The battle was far from over, but the Krelians now knew they were up against something they had never imagined. Humanity was no longer the weak species they thought it was. The war for Earth was entering a new phase, and the Krelians would soon learn just how dangerous it was to underestimate humans. The Krelians were reeling. Their once powerful fleet was now crippled, and they were losing their grip on Earth. But they were not yet defeated. Their pride would not let them surrender, and their commanders, though frustrated, had a plan. Earth's resistance is stronger than we imagined, but we are Krelians, their leader said, voice cold and calculated. We will crush them, no matter what it takes. The Krelians began to regroup, calling for reinforcements from every corner of the galaxy. More ships, more soldiers, more weapons. They would come in full force now, to prove that Earth was nothing more than an obstacle to be eliminated. But Earth was not backing down. Humans had been tested, and they had shown that they could stand up to even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The recent victory against the Krelian mothership was proof of that. But now, Earth's leaders knew they had to take the next step. This battle could decide everything. The world united again, but this time, there was a new sense of urgency. The global leaders, scientists, and military commanders gathered to discuss their next move. It was clear that this war could go on forever if they didn't end it now. They needed a way to hit the Krelians where it hurt, to show them once and for all that Earth was no longer a planet to be trifled with. Dr. Aisha Malik, who had been instrumental in the development of the electromagnetic device that disabled the Krelian ships, was now working on something even more dangerous. Her new weapon was designed to target the Krelians' central command structure, the heart of their entire military operation. If it worked, the Krelians would be left vulnerable, unable to coordinate their forces. The plan was simple. A group of elite soldiers, led by Commander Ravi Singh, would infiltrate the heart of the Krelians' fleet to destroy their central command system once and for all. The Krelians' powerful ships and weapons were useless without coordination, and once the heart of their operation was destroyed, their forces would fall into chaos. As the mission was set into motion, Earth's military launched a massive assault to distract the Krelians. It was the perfect opportunity. The alien forces were caught off guard, not expecting Earth to be able to launch such a coordinated attack. The humans hit their ships with all their might, forcing the Krelians to divide their forces. It was a bold strategy, and one that Earth could only afford to take because they now had the upper hand. Commander Singh and his team moved quickly. They slipped through the chaos, using their stealth technology to evade the Krelians' defenses. Every step they took brought them closer to their goal. But they knew this mission was a one-way trip. The Krelians would stop at nothing to destroy them once they knew what they were planning. As they approached the Krelians' central command ship, their hearts pounded in their chests. The ship was enormous, its dark silhouette casting a shadow over the battlefield below. Inside, hundreds of Krelian soldiers patrolled the corridors. It was one of the most heavily guarded places in the galaxy. But Earth's soldiers were determined, driven by the memory of everything they had lost and everything they were fighting for. The team moved like shadows, slipping past the alien soldiers with precision and speed. They reached the central control room, the heart of the Krelian fleet, but the door was heavily guarded. The tension in the air was thick, and time was running out. They knew they had to act fast. With one final push, Commander Singh led his team into the control room. They fought fiercely, taking down the Krelian soldiers one by one. But it wasn't just about strength, it was about unity. The humans worked together, each member of the team playing their part, using their knowledge and skills to outsmart the Krelians at every turn. In the end, they succeeded. The central command system was destroyed. A massive explosion ripped through the Krelians' command ship, sending shockwaves throughout the fleet. The shockwaves were felt on every Krelian ship, disabling their communications, their control systems, and their ability to fight effectively. The Krelian forces were in complete chaos. Their once impenetrable command structure had crumbled, and they were now vulnerable. On Earth, the world watched in awe as the Krelians' power began to collapse. Their ships no longer coordinated, their forces scattered. Humans, with their new weapon and their courage, had delivered the final blow. The Krelians, for the first time since they had arrived, were on the defensive. But the battle was not over yet. The Krelians would not give up easily. They had one final weapon, an enormous ship, a weapon of mass destruction capable of wiping out entire cities with a single blast. They would unleash this weapon unless humanity could stop them. The war was far from won, but the humans had taken the first decisive step. The Krelians, once so confident in their superiority, were now scrambling to regain control. It was clear that Earth was no longer the weak planet they thought it was. The next battle would decide the fate of the galaxy, and humanity, for the first time in history, was ready to fight for its place among the stars. The Krelians were in chaos. Their once great empire, their fleets, their overwhelming technology, everything was crumbling before the humans' unrelenting determination. The alien invaders, shocked by the unexpected destruction of their central command, were struggling to regroup. But despite their confusion, they still had one last weapon to unleash, their ultimate weapon, the Tyrannos, a ship capable of destroying entire cities with a single blast. The Krelians' leaders knew they had to use it, or all would be lost. The Tyrannos was a monstrosity, a ship so massive that it blotted out the sky. It was a terrifying weapon, one the Krelians had built in secret, hoping that if they ever found themselves losing, they could use it to wipe out Earth and all its resistance in one swift strike. The Tyrannos was unlike anything the humans had ever seen, a ship that could decimate entire continents with a single shot. For the first time, Earth's military knew they faced an enemy more powerful than anything they had fought before. The battle had been fierce, but this weapon was the Krelians' final chance to win. Commander Ravi Singh and his team, though exhausted from their previous mission, knew what had to be done. They couldn't let the Tyrannos be unleashed. If the Krelians fired it, Earth would be lost. A plan was quickly devised. It would be a suicide mission. A small group of the bravest soldiers would infiltrate the Tyrannos itself and disable its weapon systems before it could fire. The risks were enormous, but the team knew there was no other choice. The fate of Earth, and possibly the galaxy, rested in their hands. Dr. Aisha Malik had developed a new technology, an energy disruptor that could interfere with the Tyrannos' massive power core. The plan was to infiltrate the ship, plant the device at the heart of the Tyrannos, and activate it, disabling the weapon before the Krelians could destroy Earth. The crew gathered for the mission, each member saying goodbye to their families, knowing this might be their last fight. Commander Singh, determined as ever, led the charge. "We're doing this for Earth," he said, his voice steady. "We'll stop them. Together." The final assault began with a massive distraction. Earth's remaining military forces launched everything they had left. Fighter jets streaked across the sky, missiles tore through the atmosphere, and bombs rained down on the remaining Krelian ships. It was a battle unlike any Earth had fought before. The humans were fighting not only for survival but for a future among the stars. In the midst of the chaos, Commander Singh and his team boarded their stealth ship and made their way toward the Tyrannos. The massive alien vessel loomed in the distance, its guns trained on Earth's cities. The team navigated through the wreckage of the Krelian fleet, evading enemy fire as they made their way toward their target. As they neared the Tyrannos, they could feel the tension in the air. The ship was massive, a floating fortress that seemed impossible to breach. But the team wasn't afraid. They had been through worse, and they were ready to face whatever came next. Inside the Tyrannos, the crew made their way through dark, narrow corridors. The ship was eerily quiet, with only the hum of alien technology filling the silence. They knew they had to move quickly. The longer they waited, the more time the Krelians had to launch their devastating weapon. Suddenly, alarms blared, and the ship's internal defenses activated. Krelian soldiers poured out from hidden doors, armed and ready to fight. The team fought fiercely, using every ounce of strength and strategy to overcome the alien forces. It was a brutal battle. Each soldier fell with the force of a wave, but the humans pushed on, determined to stop the weapon at all costs. Finally, they'd reached the heart of the ship, the power core, the source of the Tyrannos' devastating strength. But there was a problem. The core was heavily guarded, and the team had no time to waste. They would have to destroy the guards and disable the core, all while keeping the Krelians from activating the weapon. Commander Singh gave the order. "We take them down, and we finish this now." The final fight was intense. The team fought with everything they had, using the alien technology they had salvaged from earlier battles to disable their enemies' weapons. The Krelians were strong, but the humans were smarter. One by one, the team planted the disruptors around the core. The explosions rang out, and the Tyrannos began to shake. But just as the final device was placed, the Krelian leader, desperate and furious, appeared. He activated the ship's final defense system, a powerful energy field that surged around the core. The team was trapped. They fought against the energy barrier, but it seemed impossible to break through. Time was running out. With every passing second, the Tyrannos moved closer to firing its deadly weapon. Earth's fate was hanging by a thread. In a final act of desperation, Commander Singh activated a last-minute backup plan. He sent a signal to Earth's military forces, asking them to fire the remaining EMP missiles at the Tyrannos. Back on Earth, the military acted quickly, launching the missiles in a precise strike. The EMP blasts hit the Tyrannos just as the team activated the final disruptor. The energy field collapsed, and the ship's weapons were rendered useless. With seconds to spare, the Tyrannos was disabled. The Krelian forces, unable to respond, watched in horror as their ultimate weapon failed. The human team had done the impossible. The Krelians, stunned and defeated, had no choice but to retreat. Earth had won.